Partnership working. Partnership with parents. Staff working with children in early years settings naturally build meaningful and positive relationships with parents. Working with parents involves understanding and respecting differences, individual circumstances, and the changing needs of children and their families. Being a parent can be both a rewarding and satisfying responsibility. It can, however, at times be complex, and some parents may find the experience of being a parent more challenging than others. There may be times when parents or carers need support and assistance from various service providers.
Lewis is a happy wee boy. He's got some disabilities. He's got a cleft lip and palate. He's slightly deaf in one ear. Lewis needs a speech therapist, and I would need to keep travelling away up to York Hill just to get that. So they were saying that they were going to help me, but they're supporting me through the speech therapist that was here, that she could just deal with Lewis and transfer him instead of me going all the way up. And that means he's getting the right amount of care every week instead of every couple of months, which would progress him even more. They make me feel as if I'm not the only one. And if I'm like, oh, he's got a problem, they'll help me. And if I'm stuck at something and I tell them, they'll help me through it. They'll go to me really well through everything.
It is essential, therefore, that all staff working with families respect and value parents and the crucial role they play in their children's lives.
One of the challenges of our work now is that we are quite rightly charged with supporting parents in relation to their children's development and learning. We all know that thing about children, that they're like little sponges and they just mop up everything that's going on around them, and that is all part of their development. So it's just no good us thinking that when we're sharing a book with children that's when they're developing. But when we're looking the other way and they need us but they're not getting us, and when we're having a totally unsuitable conversation about something and they can hear it all, well, sorry, but that's all going in as well, and we need to bear that in mind and to think about how we can be role models in terms of all those sorts of things, because for many parents, they haven't had this experience themselves. It's incredibly difficult if you don't know what it feels like. You can't pass something on to somebody that you haven't got to pass on. So they need to have that experience with us as professionals and practitioners in order to support them in passing it on with their children.
When staff listen attentively to parents, they show that they respect and value their knowledge, skills and experience. This approach encourages both parents and staff to ask for advice and support when required.
The benefits of having good, strong communication is we get to know the parent and we get to know the child closely. And at times, sometimes parents can have problems and it makes them feel that they can approach us more. It gets us to feel as though not only do we know the child really well, but we know the family really well, and that we can approach them if there's anything we want to discuss or anything either. It makes them take ownership of the nursery and feel part of it. Makes the parent feel comfortable about walking away and leaving the most precious thing in their life here.
Effective approaches to working with parents may include providing a warm and welcoming environment and, where possible, a dedicated space for parents to meet with one another.
We have an open door policy. People passing in the street can see the nursery. They can see our staff out and about with children. So they're happy to come to the door, come in and speak to us. We have classes, rhyme time classes going on for children that are not necessarily attending the nursery, so we can reach out to a lot of people.
Ensuring that settling in processes are personalised and that links are developed between the home and the setting. This approach will ensure consistency of care for babies and young children.
I think relationships are really, really important, and parents obviously need to have someone that they are able to speak to. They're leaving their very young children with what are initially at first strangers. So you really have to build up not only the relationship with the child and the trust with the child, but obviously you have to have the same relationship with the parent or the carer to ensure that they're happy and secure leaving their child in the nursery in the first place. I think you have to work on that relationship by allowing time for the parent not only to spend time in the nursery with the child in the setting and seeing you in your workplace and see how you conduct yourself and how you interact with their child, but also you have to have time set aside just for the parent so that you can speak to them about any concerns or development needs that their child has. I think you have to make time for both the child and the parent. I think that's absolutely key.
Staff should value information from parents about their child and take this into account when planning for the child's individual needs and interests.
Communication and involving parents is number one for me. I find it's the backbone of childminding, because if you don't know what the parents are doing at home, then how can you continue to provide ongoing learning service for that child? So communication with mum, asking her what's been happening, what they've been doing at home, anything exciting at the weekend, and then following on from there. And also telling mum how well the child's doing, what they've managed to achieve for that day. If they've done something they've never done before, then of course communication's priority, because mum needs to know, and vice versa.
Consulting with parents about the service is imperative, and asking them to be an integral part of the self-evaluation process is rewarding, informative and important. Ensuring that parents are well informed about the day-to-day running of the setting and that they are involved in making decisions about their child is fundamental. It may be, for example, that the transition process evolves according to parents' wishes and ideas. Partnerships across services. The vision, values and principles which underpin Scotland's early years framework, and also the Equally Well and Achieving Our Potential policies, support strong and effective partnerships across families, services and the wider community. These interrelated frameworks aim in particular to help children from families and communities who face the greatest social and health disadvantages and inequalities. They promote prevention and early intervention strategies through multi-agency working.
Multi-agency working is paramount in benefiting the child and family, so that the family can see that everybody is working to the same goals. Everybody is working together. We're all doing the same thing. We all know what everybody else is doing, and it provides a consistency for that child. And I work with the staff in a variety of ways. Sometimes I work closely with the staff to provide specific one-to-one specialist, what I would say is specialist physiotherapy input. Other times I'm working with the staff to pass on ideas and ways that they can manage the children within the centre. I think it's really, really important that even if I am providing a one-to-one specific input to a child, that's going to make not one blind bit of difference to the child if at all the other times during the week they're not, that's not being carried out.
We have outside agencies that come into the centre, like physiotherapists, occupational therapists, speech and language therapists. We all work with them for each individual child. They only come in maybe once a week, so we follow through what we've been doing with them in the playroom each day, so the child is getting the most from that, and then the parents would also be following that up at home.
Well, Lucy gets physio on a weekly basis, and she has it here now at nursery, which frees up a bit of my time at home with Lucy as well, because I work, so it means that I'm not having to, when I've got days off, we can go do nice things together rather than waiting around for people to come to the house and do things with Lucy. The staff help me with Lucy's physiotherapy by working along with the same sort of exercises. We all know what she's supposed to be doing, so that that it's done consistently and she gets the right exercises done.
There is a key commitment to building greater capacity for parents so that they can improve outcomes for their children and themselves.
We have children who have specific disabilities, we have children who have communication difficulties, as well as our children who are developing at the appropriate age and stage but their home environment, it may be the adults in the home, the parents in the home that are finding things challenging, that they have the issues, that they find that they're needing the respite and the support. And if we're promoting positive parenting, and you need to start where these children are going to get that very much mirrored. So one of the key points that we have is about not just looking at the wee one that comes through the door. It's about looking at the parent. What can we do to engage that parent? What can we do to build their self-esteem, their confidence? Because that's very much mirrored and taken back to their child. And you see that when you know, an example of that is when a child is showing a parent their art activity that day, or their piece of their junk, and they look at it and they praise them, and it's absolutely, because that's recognition, and it's reinforcing that positive behaviour.
These frameworks all use Getting It Right for Every Child as the methodology to support implementation. Getting It Right is a national approach to supporting and working with all children and young people in Scotland. This approach is based on research evidence and best practice. It is designed to ensure that all parents, carers and professionals work effectively together to give children and young people the best start and improve their life opportunities.
Getting it right for every child really stresses the importance of all agencies working together. Ideally, there should be a lead professional. However, what's really stressed is the idea that families should not have to keep repeating themselves or get conflicting pieces of information from all the professionals involved. It's very important for the family, for instance, maybe to get written information. Written information is really important as it allows them to refer back to it at later dates. It allows that information therefore to be shared with other family members. It also allows other professionals to see whatever other people are doing. Individual management plans can also help towards this and allow therefore all the professionals involved to have a clear goal which everyone can see. It's also important that any information is in a format that's accessible to the families and their wider family, because early intervention to be successful requires the involvement of grandparents, siblings and so on.
The Education Additional Support for Learning Scotland Act has been revised to include children under 3 years. This means that the significant benefits of intervention at the very earliest age is now recognised and supported by legislation. Reasons for requiring additional support may relate, for example, to a change in circumstances, such as bereavement or separation from a parent, or as a result of child protection issues, disability or disadvantage.
We actually would consider ourselves as a gateway to other specialist services for both children and for adults. To that end, early intervention is really important, and I have a family support worker who helps facilitate other agencies and specialist supports for adults, as well as carrying out some of the tasks on himself. We would also deliver breastfeeding support, parenting skills classes, mellow parenting classes, and other such groups for parents and for children, and provide creches for them, and that's in line with Scottish Government's priorities for the early years framework.
Within Shotts Nursery Centre, we work very closely with our health colleagues. We work very closely with our psychologists and with colleagues from the social work department from Child and Family. They're very much seen as part of the team, they're not an added extra. And it's built on respecting one another's profession. The work with the psychologist is vitally important, because then we can actually sit down and discuss and to reflect, and for the psychologist to come in and observe the child, observe the staff interaction, and also perhaps use video or interactive guidance where we can take a closer look, because sometimes you miss that optimum moment. Why is the child behaving in such a way? Where are the triggers? What's actually happening? So to have that other pair of eyes coming into the room and working with either myself or with the staff member, and often with the parent as well, because it's not that we have to work in isolation, we're working together. to develop strategies that are going to support the child both at home and in the nursery.
For some children, the need for additional support will be significant and maybe long-term. Whatever the reason or level of intervention required, supporting every child's needs through effective communication and partnership working is essential if we are to get it right for every child.
I think the principle of GIRFEC is absolutely fundamental to us. If we think back to the Kilbrandon report in the mid-60s, which said we need to be looking at children and dealing with their need and not their deed. Now, that's no different now, but I mean, I spoke recently to Professor David Stone, whose father, as a young psychiatrist, was on the Kilbrandon review. And I said to him, if you've done one thing in your life to be proud of, that's something to be proud of. And it's still relevant today. And I think what's happened is we've lost sight of that. We've got mixed up in bureaucracy. It's about who's important and what's important. But I do think we're getting back to that idea of doing the right thing. Scotland doing the right thing. That notion of Scots. We've got some traits that are pretty negative. But if we turn them around, Thrawn is one of them. Is resilience. Is about actually saying, this is the right thing to do. We're not going to fix it overnight. We're not going to fix it on our own. It's not a police problem or a teacher's problem or a doctor's problem or a nurse's problem or a social worker's problem. It's everybody's problem. And we need to start and do that. And we need to start to say it out loud. And I think we are. We're starting to make a difference in it. You know, from our perspective, violence is down. We need now that if we reduce the violence, if we stabilise the patient, we need to now deliver some care. And the long-term care, early years. If I had £1 million, I'd spend it supporting parents at risk. If the government said to me, you've got £1 million to spend, John, that's where I'd spend it. Tomorrow.
How do you demonstrate to parents that you respect and value their knowledge and understanding of their children? Discuss why this is important and the challenges you meet in your context. Why is it important to develop effective partnership working with staff from other agencies? Discuss some of the challenges and how you may overcome them.